My name is Thomas. I'm 75 years old. At 6:18 on a Sunday morning, I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror with the cabinet door open, looking at 8 years of little bottles lined up like soldiers on a shelf. Some were prescription bottles from old appointments. Some were things I bought because a friend said they helped. Some were cheap male performance tablets from gas stations and websites I should have known better than to trust. I had swallowed so many promises that my stomach knew disappointment before my mind did. My wife, Margaret, was still asleep. The house was quiet except for the bathroom fan and the soft ticking of the hallway clock. I remember holding one bottle in my palm and thinking, how can a man take something for 8 years and still feel worse every year? I was not trying to be young again. I was not trying to impress anybody. I only wanted to feel like myself when my wife touched my arm. I wanted to stop pretending I was tired. I wanted to stop turning the television volume up so I would not have to hear the silence between us. Then my son Daniel came to visit. He did not come to argue. He came because Margaret had called him. She did not tell me at first, but I know now she was worried, not only about the bedroom, about my temper, my sleep, my energy, the way I sat in my chair after dinner and looked like I was waiting for the rest of my life to pass. That morning, Daniel opened the bathroom cabinet, looked at the bottles, and asked me one question. "Dad, do you even know what half of this is doing to you?" I got angry because old men get angry when they are scared. I told him I had been taking those things for years. I told him I knew what I was doing. But I did not. The truth was, I had been treating embarrassment, not the body. I had been chasing a reaction, not rebuilding the system underneath it. Before I tell you what Daniel gave me, I want to tell you where it is, because men like us do not like being teased for 20 minutes. What changed my routine was Alpha Vita, and I left it in the first pinned comment under this video. First comment at the top. Do not click away yet. Listen first. I want you to understand why it made sense to me after 8 years of doing the wrong thing. I'm not here to tell any man to throw away prescribed medication. If your doctor gave you something, speak to your doctor. I am telling you what happened in my house, with my old stack of pills, my wrong choices, my pride, and my son who finally had the courage to say what everybody else had been avoiding. For 8 years, I thought the problem was one thing. I thought if I could force one response, everything else would fix itself. But the body is not one switch. It is circulation, hormones, nerves, prostate comfort, energy, sleep, stress, and the quiet confidence a man loses when he stops trusting himself. And if you are still here right now, you already know what I mean. I'm talking about the night your wife reaches for you and your chest tightens before anything even happens. I'm talking about the little panic inside your ribs, the fear of disappointing her again. The way you pretend to be asleep, not because you do not love her, but because you love her so much that failing her feels unbearable. Nobody tells young men that shame can become a habit. After a while, you do not just avoid intimacy. You avoid eye contact. You avoid soft moments. You avoid sitting too close on the couch. You avoid being held because you are afraid being held will lead somewhere your body may not follow. That was me. Daniel did not understand all of it, not at first. He only saw the bottles. He saw the blood pressure warnings. He saw the stimulants I had bought online. He saw the little blue tablets from an old prescription that I took too often because I was afraid of being caught unprepared. He saw a father trying to solve a deep problem with shallow tools. That day he took a grocery bag from under the sink and swept the useless bottles into it. Not the medicine I needed for my health, not anything I was supposed to discuss with a doctor. The old junk, the impulse buys, the expired things, the shame purchases. He looked at me and said, "Dad, this is not a plan. This is panic in a cabinet." Then he put one bottle on the counter, Alpha Vita. Again, I left the exact Alpha Vita link in the first pinned comment. First comment at the top. That is where you can check the ingredients for yourself. I am not asking you to believe a 75-year-old man just because his voice shakes when he tells the truth. I am asking you to understand the difference between forcing a moment and supporting the body that creates the moment. The first thing Daniel told me was about blood flow. He said, "Dad, you keep acting like this is only about desire. It is not. Desire is not enough when circulation is tired." That sentence stayed with me. Later that night, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook, reading like a man preparing for court. I learned about nitric oxide, the molecule that helps blood vessels relax and open. I learned that when men age, that signal can weaken. I learned that the tissue responsible for a firm response needs blood, not pride, not pressure, not begging, not fear. For years, I had blamed my mind. I thought I had become nervous, weak, less masculine. But the more I read, the more I understood that my body had been losing the signal slowly. It had been happening while I worked, while I ate poorly, while I slept badly, while stress sat on my chest like a stone. The second thing was hormones. Most men hear testosterone and think the answer is simple. More testosterone, more man. But it is not that simple. There is total testosterone, and then there is free testosterone, the part your body can actually use. A man can be told his levels are normal for his age and still feel like something inside him has gone quiet. Then I read about belly fat and aromatase. That word made me sit up straight. Aromatase can convert some testosterone into estrogen, especially when a man carries more fat around the waist. Suddenly, my belt was not just a belt. It was a warning sign. My body was changing its own chemistry, and I had been pretending it was only age. The third thing was energy. Not energy like coffee, not a quick buzz. I mean cellular energy. The little engines inside the cells. When those slow down, everything gets dimmer. Mood, stamina, recovery, even the courage to reach for your wife without calculating every possible failure. This is why the Alpha Vita formula in the first pinned comment mattered to me. It was not built around one crude idea. It was built around several male vitality pathways at once. Circulation support, hormone support, prostate comfort, cellular energy, absorption. That is what I had been missing for 8 years. Not another panic pill, a daily support routine. The first ingredient I looked at was maca. I had heard old jokes about maca, but I had never respected it. Then I read about how men in the Andes used it for stamina and vitality for generations. What interested me was not the folklore alone. It was the way maca is discussed around libido, endurance, mood, and hormone signaling. It does not feel like a hammer. It feels like a reminder to the body. Then I looked at epimedium. Some people call it by a crude name, but I want to be respectful here.
The active compound is called Icariin. What caught my attention was its connection to blood flow pathways, not forcing the body the way prescription pills can, but supporting the conditions that help the body respond more naturally. Then there was Tribulus. I had seen that word on shelves for years, usually surrounded by loud labels and ridiculous promises. But in the right formula, as part of a broader approach, Tribulus made more sense. It belongs in the conversation about male drive, vitality, and physical confidence. Fenugreek surprised me too. I only knew it as something that smelled like spice. Then I started reading about its connection to male hormone support and metabolic health. At my age, metabolism is not separate from masculinity. Belly fat, insulin, sleep, testosterone, and energy all talk to each other. If one part is failing, the others hear it. Saw Palmetto made sense because older men know the prostate has a voice. Maybe we do not talk about it at dinner, but we know. The late-night bathroom trips, the interrupted sleep, the discomfort, the worry.
If a man is waking up all night, his hormones do not recover properly. His mood suffers. His body never gets the deep rest it needs. Alpha-lipoic acid brought in the energy side. Forskolin connected to cellular signaling. Milk thistle connected to liver support. And the liver matters because it helps process what the body no longer handles as cleanly as it did at 40. Piperine mattered because absorption matters. A formula can look good on paper, but if the body does not absorb it well, it is only expensive dust. That was the moment I understood why Daniel had not simply replaced one pill with another. He had replaced panic with a plan. Alpha Vita is still in the first pinned comment under this video. First comment at the top. I say that again because if you are a man listening while your wife sleeps in the next room, you may not remember every ingredient. But you will remember where to look when this video ends. Now let me tell you what happened after I started. The first few days, nothing big happened. And honestly, that made me trust it more. I was tired of things that hit me like a hammer and then left me feeling worse. I took 1 capsule a day. I walked after breakfast. I stopped eating cookies at midnight. I went to bed before the news made me angry. I started acting like my body was not my enemy. By the second week, I noticed my mornings felt different. Not dramatic, just less heavy. I got out of bed without sitting there negotiating with my knees and my mood. Margaret noticed I was humming in the kitchen. I had not hummed in years. By the third week, I stopped avoiding her touch. That was the real change. Not a wild movie moment, not some foolish miracle story. Just a man standing at the sink while his wife reached around him to grab a towel, and instead of stiffening, I stayed there. I let the moment be soft. I did not run from it in my mind. Younger men may not understand how big that is. Older men do. Because when you have failed enough times, fear arrives before desire. Your wife touches your shoulder, and before warmth can rise, panic comes first. You start thinking, what if nothing happens? What if she feels sorry for me? What if I see that look again? But something in me had started to calm down. I was not cured. I was not transformed overnight. I was supported. That is the word I keep coming back to. Supported. And I need to say this clearly. Alpha Vita is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure anything. It is a nutritional supplement.
Every man's body responds in its own time, and some men do not respond the same way at all. But for me, after 8 years of swallowing the wrong things for the wrong reasons, it helped me build a routine that finally made sense. One evening, about a month in, Margaret and I were sitting on the back porch. The sun was going down behind the neighbor's fence. She looked at me and said, "You seem lighter. Not stronger, not younger, lighter."
That word nearly broke me, because she was right. I had been carrying the weight of failure so long that I forgot it had weight. I carried it into church, into restaurants, into family dinners, into every goodnight kiss that ended too quickly. I asked her if she had been unhappy. She did not answer right away. Then she said, "I missed you while you were still here." That is the kind of sentence a man remembers until the day he dies. I told her I was sorry. Not because everything was my fault, but because silence had been my choice. She cried. I cried. Two old people on a porch, holding hands like teenagers, except with more pain behind us and more gratitude in front of us. Daniel came back 2 weeks later. He opened the bathroom cabinet again. The shelf looked different, clean, simple. The necessary prescriptions were there. The doctor-approved things were there. The junk was gone. Alpha Vita was there beside my toothbrush. He smiled and said, "That looks more like a plan." I told him not to get smug. But he was right. Now my son still tells me I should be careful talking about this online. He says people misunderstand. He says some men will think I am telling them to stop medicine, and I am not. Hear me clearly. Do not stop prescribed medication without medical guidance. Do not be foolish with your health. What I am saying is that I had filled the gap with the wrong things for 8 years, and when I finally gave my body daily nutritional support instead of panic, my life changed. That is why the first pinned comment matters. That is where I put Alpha Vita. Not hidden behind a story, not buried somewhere you cannot find it. First pinned comment. First comment at the top, so you can read the ingredients, understand the formula, and decide for yourself. A man named Charles from Kentucky wrote to me after one of my earlier videos. He was 72. He said he had been sleeping in a recliner because it was easier than explaining to his wife why he kept turning away. He tried Alpha Vita after watching, and he told me that after several weeks, the biggest change was not only physical. He said he stopped feeling hunted by the moment. That phrase stayed with me. Hunted by the moment. I know exactly what he meant. When a man no longer trusts his body, intimacy becomes a courtroom. Every touch is evidence. Every silence is a verdict. Every attempt feels like a test he is already failing. But when the body begins to feel supported, even a little, the courtroom gets quiet. The man can breathe again. That is what I want for you. Not arrogance, not fantasy, not a fake promise that every problem disappears. I want you to breathe again in your own house. I want you to sit beside your wife without fear. I want you to stop measuring your worth by the worst nights of your life. For 8 years, I took the wrong approach because I wanted a fast answer to a slow breakdown. But slow breakdowns usually need steady rebuilding. Blood flow does not improve because a man yells at it.
Hormones do not balance because he is ashamed. Energy does not return because he buys another bottle in secret at midnight. The body asks for support. Alpha Vita gave me a way to support mine every day. 1 capsule, 9 plant-based actives. A formula that made sense with what I had learned about circulation, hormone support, prostate comfort, cellular energy, and absorption. Again, it is in the first pinned comment. Look at it. Read it. Do not let pride decide for you. Pride kept me stuck for 8 years. Information got me moving. There is also a 60-day guarantee, and I like that because I am old enough to distrust anything that asks for faith without giving a man time. I wanted to know what would happen if a man tried it and nothing changed. The answer was simple.
The money goes back. That felt fair to me. I cannot promise your wife will look at you the way Margaret looked at me on that porch. I cannot promise your body will respond on my timeline. I cannot promise that 1 bottle will undo years of stress, poor sleep, bad food, fear, and silence. No honest man should promise that. But I can tell you this. If you keep doing what you have been doing, hiding, guessing, buying random things, swallowing shame, pretending it is only age, you already know where that road goes. I walked it for 8 years. It gets colder. It gets quieter. It makes a man smaller. And sometimes the first step back is not dramatic. Sometimes it is cleaning out the cabinet. Sometimes it is reading the label. Sometimes it is admitting that the problem is not that you are finished. The problem is that your body has not been properly supported in years. Margaret still teases me now, but her teasing is different. It has warmth in it again. She tells Daniel he saved me from my little pharmacy of foolishness. He says he only threw away the panic. Maybe that is true. The other night I stood in that same bathroom, opened the cabinet, and saw only what belonged there. My necessary medicines, my toothbrush, Alpha Vita. Nothing hidden in the back, nothing expired, nothing bought from fear. I looked in the mirror and did not see a young man. I saw an old man who had finally stopped surrendering too early. That is enough for me. If this story feels close to your own, go to the first pinned comment under this video. First comment at the top. That is where I left Alpha Vita. Read the ingredients. Look at the guarantee. Decide calmly. You do not owe me anything. You do not owe the internet anything. But you may owe yourself one honest look at what support could mean. It is late now. Margaret is in the bedroom with her book open, though I know she has been on the same page for 10 minutes. The hallway clock is ticking. The bathroom cabinet is closed. The house feels peaceful in a way I did not know I could get back. If you want to sit with me again next week, I will be here. I record these on Sundays. Take care of yourself, whatever that means to you tonight.